If you have been a fan of the Virginia football program for the last 25 years, names like Barber, Poindexter, Jones, Kirby, and more are just some of the more familiar to have graced Scott Stadium. But if you go back another 25 years, you'll find the names of the 4 players who broke a huge color barrier in Charlottesville and helped make the last half century possible.
Last year, the Virginia Cavaliers made appearances in the ACC title game and the Orange Bowl, and finally broke their long losing streak against Virginia Tech. 50 years ago, the UVA program was nowhere near as prominent.
The UVA wasn't a powerhouse, or it wasn't a household name back in the day.
Back in 1970, George Blackburn was about to begin his 6th and final season as head coach of the Cavaliers. He had only one winning season during his tenure, and none of the 4 coaches who preceded him, going all the way back to the Korean War, had winning overall records either. It wasn't an attractive option for some of the better high school players in the Commonwealth.
I had no real thoughts about going to school there. I really had no real thoughts about going to school at all.
Virginia wasn't really attractive to us. I mean, Virginia didn't win.
Kent Merritt was an all-district and all-state running back from Lane High School in Charlottesville. He was recruited by schools like Penn State, North Carolina, and Tennessee, and had his choice of scholarship offers. In the end, the decision was pretty much made for him.
My parents were a big influence on getting me to come here because I mean, the average kid would be looking to go to a established program, and UVA had none. At their urging, I decided to come here.
Likewise, Stan Land, John Rainey, and Harrison Davis were all-state performers who had multiple options for college. All 4 chose to go to UVA and make history in the process. 50 years ago, they were the first African-American scholarship athletes to play football for the Cavaliers.
We came to play sports and athletics. All right, we didn't really come to do anything earth-shattering, and we thought we could at least improve the program while we were here.
We just wanted to go somewhere and play football and win football games. We weren't so much aware, I don't think, of what we were doing until after we graduated, really.
Back then, freshmen were not eligible to play on the varsity team, but once the 4 got to that level, they began to contribute and become part of the program. Not that there weren't hurdles and constant reminders that their trailblazing wasn't always celebrated or desired.
People were nice, but you knew in the background, people said, okay, we're not ready for this. People weren't ready for it.
After a touchdown, they had a rebel flag that they waved in the stands, and they played Dixie and, and that sort of thing.
I can recall having a spirited wrestling match with one of the other players during one of the drills that we were doing. He decided that he wanted to use a word that I didn't particularly like, and so around and around we went.
Harrison Davis, our quarterback, he caused the brunt of it because you didn't have black quarterbacks back in the 60s and 70s, So I remember one time that he had thrown an interception, and somebody from the stand said, "Get him a watermelon, maybe he can throw it better," Then turned around and gave everybody the finger. And
You can still find some of their accomplishments in the UVA record books, but the ones of which they are most proud are earning their degrees and making those around them rethink what they thought they knew about African Americans as players and as students.
But after you get away from it and then start to look back and reflect, you understand what that really meant. That was a big event in the history of UVA.
We were groundbreakers. I think that people appreciated how we carried ourselves while we were here at UVA. All 4 of us graduated, and we went on to do pretty successful things. We were pretty successful.
Our 3rd year, he said, "John," he said, "I didn't know what to expect, when they said blacks were coming," he said. And I had to call my parents liars because of the lies they told me when I was coming up about black people. He said, "You all proved to me that, all of the stuff that our parents tell us was a bunch of crap, and I want to apologize for that." for my thoughts. And I said, okay, well, if we did nothing else, maybe we, showed a few people that what blacks really are.
Merritt led the Cavaliers in rushing in 1971 and 1972. That latter season, he played with a quarterback named George Allen, who would go on to be both governor and senator from the Commonwealth. UVA does have plans to honor these four publicly, but they will do so when COVID restrictions are more relaxed and they can be presented in front of a full crowd at Scott Stadium. If you would like to nominate someone to be profiled, email us at beyondtheroster@WTVR.com.